Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 11th episode of the worst game ever with your host, Kaznarious and
Porkchopper.
Wow, fucking amazing hesitation. I could drive a fucking bus through that hesitation. With us is Sliver.
Oh.
Yeah, he's here.
I'm here?
You're here.
Oh, okay.
You're here. You don't have to participate, but you're here. I'll cut that last part of it.
Can I get the participation ribbon?
Hell fucking no.
It's 2020. You can get anything you want, bud.
And of course, the unnamed guest a man who needs no introduction.
Yeah, why do you even say the number if you don't even remember it? Seems kind of pointless.
I thought this was episode 2 anyway.
What?
No, they had several on the other channel.
Literally
Yeah,
10 other
I'm
episodes.
making a continuity joke.
Yeah, okay.
You're No!
There's
It
nothing to
conflicts
do
with real life!
That has nothing to do with continuity. Didn't they say last time we're moving channels?
Yes.
Yeah, something
So
like that.
Alright.
None of what he said has to do with continuity.
Fuck it.
It's continuity.
It's horse shit. Fuck off. This is why you're in the corner. Does anyone want to start us off?
You're the host.
Yeah, I'm the host.
One of you two should start.
Yeah, I know. We're getting there. I'm just...
Alright.
Porkchopper, do you have any particular need to start? I ended it last time. I could start this time. How do you feel? What do you want?
Yeah, it makes no difference.
All right.
Makes no difference.
Okay, all right. Want everyone at home to gather in. Just gather around the fire. Nobody touch your fucking pool tables. All right. This is a game that I've been putting off doing for a while. All right. But after the decade has ended, after seeing various articles about this particular game, I've decided that enough is enough. And ladies and gentlemen,
Is this preamble going somewhere?
I have gone home. And I have gone home, but I am not home!
That fucking game. Oh my god.
The game I bring in today is Gone Home. Now, let's talk about environmental storytelling, because I actually think that is the one thing Gone Home actually has going for it. Now, you're kind of laughing. You're kind of like smiling about this.
Okay, because all I can think of was, remember the one time at my Halloween party?
Yeah.
When we were playing, and all you were doing was picking up items and just fucking throwing them across the room. And my little cousin was like 12 or some shit, was like, "You're not fucking playing the game right."
Listen,
What the fuck?
It's a gameplay feature. If I can yeet items, I will yeet items. That is irrelevant, though. There is something to be said for environmental storytelling. And, you know, I think environmental storytelling is something that gets so slept on in all these AAA games where, you know, these designers, they like make houses with like these little things that kind of suggest like different things about the characters, or like little windows into their lives. And for the record, I do think that this game actually completely nails it. Even though like there are some objects that are like questionable for you to interact with, like a fucking duck at the beginning, like why? You know, you're going through this house, and it's storming outside, and you know it's a completely normal house, but you know sometimes the lighting kind of throws you off, and you know it's not a horror game, but like it's new to you. You're kind of learning things, and it's interesting in that regard. And you know you're reading all these notes, and you're slowly finding things out about the characters.
Now, question.
Yeah.
When you say environmental storytelling, are you including those notes? Because I would not consider that environmental storytelling.
No, I'm not actually.
So you're saying there are examples of, like, you learn something, I don't know, about the dad, where you see his study or something.
You see his
like
study, and you, like, open up, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe he has, like, a fucked up drinking problem.
Oh,
like, there's bottles everywhere. It's actually kind of interesting. It looks like a lived-in house. I will give the game that 100% any fucking day of the...
It's a pretty believable house from 1995.
Yes.
For sure.
There was, there's one time I remember, and for the record, Actually, no, I'll disregard that. There was one time when I walked into a bathroom upstairs and you just see like the bathtub is full of blood, and like makes me do a double take. Like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? And then you like look around and like there's red dye beside the bathtub, and it's like, oh, okay, like you got me thinking, and so that's cool. And the game does that a lot. The problem is that the story it's actually telling isn't all that fucking interesting.
Yeah.
There are glimpses of the dad maybe having a fucking drinking problem, and, maybe the mom's cheating on him. But the crux of the story is that you're one of two sisters, and your sister is in a incredibly lesbian relationship with her friend from school. And it is essentially the world's lamest game of lesbian scavenger hunt, where you go around, find these notes. She talks about her relationship with her friend, and the second you even if you knew nothing about this fucking game, like the way she talks about her friend, like it's completely obvious. Like the game builds up like their relationship as if it's a big reveal like midway through when they're inevitably face sucking. You could see it a fucking mile away. And the thing about Gone Home is that why I decided to like play it was that I saw an article from Polygon calling Gone Home the most important game of the decade.
I remember that. I fucking read that.
The most important game of the decade. And what you have is what I think is probably the most generic LGBTQ storyline I think I've ever fucking heard. There are so many different pieces of media, from like TV to movies, that do, coming out or like finding yourself in a way more fucking interesting way than like this, which is like the most generic, like, oh, she's a lesbian, she's rebellious, she hates men. They literally fucking make a school magazine called Kicking the Patriarchy.
Yeah.
At which point I thought that this game was just like straight fucking pandering. And I hate to get political, but like, holy fuck, when I hear somebody say the word patriarchy, my mind just turns off. Like, I don't care what your point is anymore.
Yeah.
You're that kind of person. Anyway. I really do hate to get political with this, but I think it's important to... Because them being lesbians is the point of the game. It's supposed to be about learning that this girl is in her relationship, and it's the most generic thing ever. And, calling this game has like fucking 8.5s everywhere. It's a near perfect game, everyone fucking says.
Dude, it got Game of the Year, I believe, from a bunch of places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while I don't have those stats on hand, what I do know is that calling this game Game of the Year, when the fucking Last of Us, and this is a meme, but the fucking Last of Us came out months prior with a way more interesting fucking LGBTQ character, it's preposterous. Like, why the fuck do we even care about this game? Ellie is such a more well-rounded character. Like, the fact that she's a lesbian seems so secondary to her actual character arc. And while they did make a whole DLC sort of expanding upon that, that was never the point. You see her, like, growing up and how she interacts with Joel and, like, the things she's learning and the experience she's had. And you think, damn, like, that's a well-rounded character. You might think she's annoying, but I think it's hard to argue against her going through a genuine character arc. This is just like, oh, I realized I want to fuck her. Oh, our parents disagree with it. Oh, I'm running away. And I've seen this scenario played out 1,000,000 times over. And from an LGBTQ standpoint, I think I need more in my story than just people don't accept me. I want more out of the character than that, than the most generic, kicking the patriarchy, like fuck men character, and that's what Gone Home offers. Very unfortunately, but you know that's sort of the reason why the game is so fucking whenever you find discussion about this game, it is either I completely love this game or I completely fucking hate this game. And I think neither side is right. You know, I do think that, even though I'm calling it the worst game ever, you know, again, as a proof of concept of, like, this interesting house, sure. I think the house alone is actually it's the most interesting part.
I mean, there's also the problem of the majority of the story, like the main plot, is told. It's mostly just through monologuing, or entirely through monologuing.
Yeah,
as you walk.
It
through
is
the house.
one character's perspective, telling you exactly how everything is going down.
That sounds kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad writing.
You can have monologues that are well written. It's just having one character monologue for, like, what is it, 20 minutes? I don't know how long the game is.
Well, fun fact, everyone.
I know you can beat the game in like 3 minutes.
If anyone here is interested in this game, I am uploading my playthrough of it with this video. All of you can just watch me play through the game diegetically. Pick up all the fucking items, throw all the fucking items. You know what? There was one part that none of the reviewers talk about, when Katie takes all the items in her fucking refrigerator and puts them into the microwave and turns it on. It was a really strange part of the story, and I don't know why the devs included that, but I was a huge fan of that part of the story. But yeah, Gone Home. Incredibly underwhelming, gameplay wise and story wise, and we need more. We as gamers, you know, fuck people who are obviously like, I don't want gay people. I'm not saying that the story is bad because she's gay. I'm saying that I want more from my story than just she's gay. I need more personality than that. It's an indie game that isn't that just pulls that off, and that's why it's 8.5. It's so fucking great. It's not. It's okay, and stories should be better than that. And watch my fucking playthrough of it, man.
Please.
I think, considering the main portion of the plot, and considering the premise, that story actually deserves so much more than they gave it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, the way I see it, if you're gonna tell some kind of LGBT story, right, or something with, you know, some kind of social issue, you need to actually make the player care and make them understand what that would feel like. Make them actually see what it would be like. If you just tell me this fucking bullshit story in like 2 seconds with no real substance to it, why do I give a shit? Well, what's the fucking point?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
It really does. I mean, it is actually, all the monologues are literally her just in a fucking diary saying,
yeah,
this happened, how unfair all of this is, fucking woe is me. Like, I don't know, I want a more well-rounded character than that. And I want the perspective of other characters in the house, obviously. Maybe she's full of shit. Maybe this fucking character who's like, oh, it's so great that maybe she's actually a fucking horrible person to everyone.
You never know.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting take.
Now, question. Since I obviously haven't played it.
Sure.
Why are there pages of the diary scattered throughout the house?
There aren't. What actually happens is that there are notes scattered around the house, and pages of the diary are just read to you. Sorry. They're spoken to you when you find certain things throughout the house. But you find the diary at the end of the fucking game.
Oh.
So it's not literally happening. It's like in the future, you are reading this diary.
Okay, so
And-
you're just finding items related to the
Yes.
particular entry.
Yes.
That's kind of strange, but okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bit odd. It's a weird setup.
If
for
you
the
found
narrative.
diary pages and then you read them, that would make sense, but then I would have to question why there are diary pages scattered about the house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At least in this case, there's no, like, logical inconsistency.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But still, that is odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gone Home, worst game ever. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Alright.
Watch my fucking playthrough. Porkchopper, what game? Tell us what the worst game ever.
Alright, so. By the way, I played this game in like 13 years. I think it came out in 2007. So
Okay.
It's really fucking old. You guys ever heard of a game called Two Worlds?
I've heard of it.
Yeah?
I don't know shit
Maybe.
about it.
No, I don't
No?
know jack
It's
shit.
some, like, open world action RPG, right?
Yeah. So, before this game came out, and let me say right now, it was made by a smaller, I think they're like Swedish or some shit. It's like made by this smaller team, and basically, going into this game, they kept hyping it up as like a better Elder Scrolls, right? A bigger world, more freedom, more player choice, where you actually have more significant impact on the story and things like that. And I guess to some degree, that can be true in certain situations, but the game was just held back by some really fucking big issues. So the first one is the writing, right? Like the voice acting in the game was really, really well done, which they fucking nailed that compared to Elder Scrolls, which has like, 4 people
Stop!
reading every
You
fucking
violated
line.
the law.
Right? Voice acting was great, but the writing was fucking terrible, right? In Elder Scrolls, people talk like they would probably talk in medieval times, but it's done in a way that's accessible. They don't go too crazy with that. Whereas in Two Worlds, everything is like, pray tell, and all this stupid fucking language. And it's like, it comes across as really jarring and really awkward. And like, it's to the point where even though the story could have been decent, I stopped paying attention during cutscenes because of how awkward it was. I was like,
Honestly, a little
"Fuck
pretentious too, I'd say.
oh, yeah, of course. Like, I think the general gist of the story was, I think your sister was, like, missing or some shit and you were trying to find her. But again, I stopped paying attention because it was fucking ridiculous. I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on because half the time they're using language that, like, I don't even know what the fuck the words mean. I'm not a fucking idiot, but, like, come on. So yeah, the writing really killed the experience.
Come on, man. You don't fucking sit down in a video game and expect to go through 6 sonnets of Shakespeare? 6
No!
sonnets of Shakespeare?
If I wanted to read Shakespeare, I fucking would, and I don't because I don't fucking want to. Another thing was, so this I believe was coming out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. 2007, it was earlier in the gen. Everybody was coming out with these games with far better graphics, and this game, okay, like Oblivion looked bad, okay, because it was this big open world. This game looked even worse. Like, this legit looked like PS2, and it was really it was weird, right? Because I remember seeing shit about this game before it came out. I guess it must have been the PC version that looked way fucking better. And then they sell you this game, and it looks like fucking dog shit. To the point where it was hard to play, kind of, because like in certain situations, the textures were just so like muddy. Sometimes it was hard to kind of understand like what you were looking at in certain places. The overall gameplay though was good. Like they had some really cool ideas for combat and shit like that. It's just in the ways that really matter for an RPG, like the fucking writing and the fucking soundtrack, from what I remember, was dog shit. Like all the important aspects were fucking horrible, and it really like handcuffed the game. And I mean, maybe that's because the development team was so small. I think that was like their first big game, but like, don't hype it up as this fucking Oblivion killer if that's all you're gonna produce. it just, I don't know. I was super fucking disappointed in that because I went into it expecting like I loved Morrowind and Oblivion, but I wanted so much more from them, and these guys literally promised that, and they didn't fucking deliver on any of it. That's one of the first times where I was completely blown away at how disappointed I could ever be in a fucking video game.
Feels like a No Man's Sky situation.
Oh, don't even fucking get me
Except,
started. No Man's Sky.
Obviously, yeah.
They fixed No Man's Sky.
Yeah. Funny enough.
They
promise a lot, deliver a little.
yeah. They didn't fix Two Worlds. Although from what I remember, the second game was actually really fucking good. But because the first game left such a bad taste in my mouth, I never even bothered playing it.
Was the second game called Three Worlds?
No, it was Two Worlds too.
Yeah, it was Two Worlds too.
Fuck off!
Yeah.
It's so fucking lame.
I have heard that one was okay, at least.
It's supposed to be good.
I never heard anything about the first one. And I didn't care to play either.
Yeah, I don't bother playing. Oh, another thing I should bring up. Okay, that game had really fucking weird difficulty spikes. Like, Oblivion had this thing where everything would scale at your level, so nothing could be difficult because...
You're talking to the guy who always jumped in Oblivion, like always, and upgraded my jumping, and had fucking enemies that were fucking pushing my asshole in, because I was always leveling up jumping. So everything else was like fucking level 1. I had level 1 jump, like level 100 jumping.
Fuck.
Anyway.
But yeah, like,
fucking jump.
The overall
come
gist,
on,
though...
Kaz, it's not Mario. You can't jump your enemies to death.
No, but like...
It would be pretty funny, though.
Fucking sick!
The overall thing in Oblivion, though, was that everything would scale to your level, so for the most part, it made leveling up pointless. So everything kind of felt like it could never be too difficult. In Two Worlds, though, you'd be in one area where everything was super easy. You take one corner, and they will fuck your ass up without any warning. Like, it would just be like a fucking endgame boss battle out of nowhere at the beginning of the game. I never expected that shit, so I stopped fucking going to those places. I had a really hard time.
Well, to be fair, though, in a lot of open world stuff, if there are specific areas that are made for, like, specific levels, I'd much prefer that to, like, the Elder Scrolls everything scales to your level thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because then there can actually be difficulty, and there can be an area where, like, this is too tough, I'll come back later.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
But they do have to be kind of well thought out. If they're not well thought out, it can be garbage. If you're in, like, an area where it's like, okay, everything around here is level 5, and then 2 steps away, there's a level 80 area, you're like, well, fuck me.
Yeah.
That can be kind of bad. You need to well define it and do it quite well.
So many classic RPGs do that shit.
Like
the original Dragon Quest, I haven't even played much of that fucking game, but like you walk a little bit past like the starting area and there's just like fucking level 5 motherfuckers just push this like it's salad tossing time, bro. Like
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, in that game, I remember this one part where I went to this town because I had to go there for a quest, and it was I remember it was like Asian architecture. It looked like feudal Japan or some shit.
Yeah, we don't say Oriental on this podcast.
But like, I was at the level for that area, but I remember I went into like a dungeon or some shit in like the basement of a building there, and I got my ass fucking handed to me by like these scorpions that were way out of my fucking league, and like all I literally did was go in a basement and got fucked up. Like shit like that comes out of nowhere and it just frustrates me because how the fuck am I supposed to know that shit's down there? But yeah, anyway, it just shit like that really just pisses me off in games, and that game fucking had bullshit like that all over the place. But yeah, so Two Worlds. If you want a dog shit, diet. Actually, it can't even be diet Elder Scrolls because Elder Scrolls Online is diet. It would be like if Coke is Elder Scrolls and Diet Coke is Elder Scrolls Online. RC Cola would be Two Worlds. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, fucking.
That's a reference that I'm not. That there's a lot of countries that will not understand.
That's too fucking bad.
Gentlemen. Yeah. Do either of you have a game to propose for worst game ever?
Okay, so this is actually Okay, it's technically a good game. I do like this game.
Okay.
But Fire Emblem Three Houses, on its second playthrough, is very boring.
Oh, I could see that.
So, the first playthrough of Fire Emblem Three Houses is pretty good. Because you kind of don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through it, you're doing the school stuff, and it's fun. You're liking it. It's not, like, too hard or too easy. The second time round, you know exactly what's good now. The school stuff is just boring. It takes forever to get through.
That's true.
You spend so much time on... You can skip it. You can spend renown to just power up your units right away. But I mean, that just is making the game super easy and avoiding the whole thing. And then you still kind of have to do the school stuff anyway, if you want reasonably okay units.
Yeah.
So it just gets really boring with the school stuff. It's not interesting to do it a second time. It's cool the first time, but a second time is not.
Which is annoying because the game obviously, like, it wants you to play it 3 times.
Yeah. No, once you play
Four
it 4
times, right.
Yeah, there are 4 routes.
Yeah.
Terrible name for a game.
Fucking misleading title. Worst game ever.
Worst game ever. The worst.
There's 4 fucking houses.
Right.
Yeah, so that's an issue. And I mean, even with the house choice, you're asked to choose it immediately.
Yeah.
Which you know nothing at that point. You're picking blindly. You have no reason to pick any of them.
Yeah, I think there's just like a little side quest you go on with like the leaders of each of the houses.
Not even.
Not
a
even.
Conversation with
Oh,
them.
fuck, that's true, yeah.
And it just gives you a description where your character weirdly knows more than they ever should about the guys.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point, because that's a really minor gripe.
Yeah.
But second playthrough is really boring. And then I had the issue with the general class system in the game is kind of fucked. In that the endgame classes don't make any sense in comparison to the tier right before it. So there's some pretty natural progressions through the first 3.
Oh, yeah.
For the first, 4 or so. I think there's 5 tiers. You have, your basic village unit. I forget. It's noble and commoner.
Yeah.
And then you go up and you can specialize in swords, spears, axes, and magic.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there you specialize, if you went spear, you can now get on a horse with a spear.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get on a Pegasus with a spear. And stuff like that. And then in the end tier, randomly, you can't upgrade. If you were going horses and spears.
Right. I know what you're getting
Yeah,
at.
if you were going horses and spears, so you went cavalier to paladin, your next tier, you need really high magic to get on your next horse unit. Or really high bows.
In a unit that you've never before had to use magic on.
Yeah, you've never touched magic. You can't even use magic on any horse class up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or your mage, and then it's the same with mages. The endgame mage classes, if it's a male unit, has to be on a horse or needs to know how to use a sword. For the endgame magic units,
Makes no goddamn sense.
Unless the character's female, the best magic unit in the game is female only. The DLC added new classes, which may have fixed some of this. I haven't played the DLC. No one.
Yeah,
So I don't care. And so the ending classes are weird like that. And then there are some classes that are complete dead ends. So if you went swords, and then into the thief class, which is swords and bows, and then went to its natural progression, the assassin class, which is swords and bows, there is no endgame class that uses both swords and bows. Technically, any class can use any weapon, but in order to upgrade to it, you need to be good at a set number of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you could make it into the bow class, but the endgame bow class is bows, horses, and lances. So if you were going swords and bows, you're kind of fucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it renders the entire assassin thing completely worthless. You should never do it.
Yeah, no, it does feel like very strange fucking game
such
design.
A weird fucking setup.
It is a weird
doesn't
setup.
make sense.
The endgame classes, there are a few that work.
The game's excuse for that is that you could technically teach any student to just be good at these, but in order to I mean, if you want to go ham and actually have the most efficient route, you want them to be using those things on the battlefield while also teaching them in class.
Now, I will say, if you're on your 4th playthrough, because
you hate your life.
Well, one, yes, but every playthrough, now, they added this in an update, but when you start a new game, plus, you get a whole bunch of renown based on the number of games you've already completed. So on your fourth one, you get a mountain of renown right at the beginning, so you can just upgrade people's skills all the way to the max on what you want them to use, and then upgrade the skills to get them to the class you want, because any class can technically use any weapon. So you can do that in the end. But
So
then...
3 fucking playthroughs to get there.
Yeah, it takes 3 playthroughs to get there. It's very annoying. But then, there's obviously just... Because anyone can be any class, there's no reason that your entire team shouldn't all be Wyvern Riders, because that is the best physical class. Because it can fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, now, to fix this, I say we just go back to the old Fire Emblem style, where people are fucking locked into their class setup. But have it more like the Sacred Stone style, where you start off as a Myrmidon, and then you can become a Swordmaster or an Assassin. Like, you get a choice when they class up, but they're still locked into the archetype, and thus their character, like their actual like personality and stuff.
It makes sense. It comes out through their actual gameplay.
Yeah. Whereas in Three Houses, you have, I don't know, you can have someone who's super, this like weird nerdy stick person, and you can just give them full armor and an axe.
Yeah, and they're a fucking knight all of a sudden.
And it's very strange.
Yeah, it doesn't... I would agree that a lot of... Yeah, the fucking purple-haired bitch. Like, I always had her, like, close quarter, like, horse... What the fuck is her name? Who cares? She's just, like, a random, like, she's scared of everyone. She's scared of combat. She's, like, socially inept. And
Bernadetta.
yeah, I have her on the front lines every single time, just, like, murdering motherfuckers left and right. And it's like, what? How the fuck is this? Like, yeah. I agree. I think it would make more sense to just fucking have a character already be specialized in something. But that's sort of like, that's just the way these games have gone now.
Yeah, they have recent Fire Emblems have been very much anyone can be anything, and I don't really like it that much because
I agree.
I liked when the character's class was tied to their personality and whatnot. Also, it made it so that, you know, you would use a character like, I need a mage, I'll use this character, instead of, I like this character and I need a mage, so I'll make them the mage, even though it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's very odd. So basically, the main complaints are the class system is stupid. I don't really like it. I want them to go back to old stuff. And the school stuff gets really boring.
Yeah.
It's fine on the first playthrough.
Yeah.
But I hate it on subsequent. And then I also hate the 4 routes. I hate the fact that there are 4 routes. Because the first half of the game is the same no matter what.
Do you think that it would be better if you could just skip to the interesting shit after your first time around?
Somewhat. There are little differences in the story. Not much. It's mostly just you get a little more insight on some things in the pre, but basically nothing. I think that could work. I think it would be better just to not have paths and instead just have one well-done story, as opposed to 4 things where you had to play through all of them to get everything. And then some of them are kind of stupid. Like, the Black Eagles route is apparently just really dumb. I did not do that one, because I'm not an idiot and pick the default route.
My problem with the games that want you to play through multiple times is that usually they change the smallest amount of stuff, so it basically feels like the same game, like 4 times in a row, right?
Yeah, well, especially so the first 12 maps are the same no matter what route you pick. It is the same maps no matter what. And then in combination, that every map is super boring. Yeah. Not actually. Like, the maps are interesting.
But doing it over and
doing it over is really boring. And in combination, the objectives, in a Fire Emblem sense, are so unvaried. Like, in a previous Fire Emblem game, you would do, like, a siege, you would then do a rout, a defend, an escape, a defeat the commander. There are all kinds of objectives. In this one, it's basically just defeat the commander and rout. I believe those are the only 2 in the whole game. I don't remember a single other one.
Fuck.
And that is just a complaint in general about modern Fire Emblem, because they've all done that ever since Awakening, and I wish they would stop. I wish we would go back a little bit. I like some of the changes, that have happened, but I would want to reverse quite a number of them. Also, they removed the weapon triangle. What the fuck?
The weapon triangle for everyone at home is just... It's your basic Pokemon rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, a spear user will beat a sword user will beat an axe user. An axe user will beat a spear user.
That
But
makes sense.
but it's not like a direct thing. If you have better stats, you'll still win.
Yeah.
It's slightly lower damage and slightly lower accuracy, or the reverse if you were better.
But in the old games, it was certainly something to consider.
Yeah, now the game still kind of has it. There's an equipable skill that everyone can get, which is like Axe Breaker, which is if you're using a sword and you're against an axe person, you get these bonuses. Mm-hmm. But you have to equip that skill. It's not a default thing in the system. And you get that kind of late in the game. Well, not late, but you get it like mid-game round, where your unit's probably strong enough anyway to not have to worry about it. So in the early game, it doesn't matter because it doesn't exist. And in the late game, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. Because you can just overpower that skill anyway.
It definitely feels like there's a level of tactics that is missing from this game when you... And I know especially in like the early Fire Emblem games, if you have like one unit out of position that's just like low level and they're an axe, there's a spear enemy, they're in range, that unit is dead as fuck. Yeah. It seriously made you like consider the positioning of your units and that fucking weapon triangle, which I felt made the game way more rewarding.
Yeah. No, I mean, there are obviously some great additions that I did like in this game, such as the reversing time option, because it's a very classic thing in Fire Emblem.
Yeah,
where you lose a unit, you restart the whole map. Whereas in this one, you can rewind turns.
So you don't actually restart the whole map. If you lose when a unit dies in Fire Emblem, they die forever. Okay. So,
well, in the newer ones, you choose whether or not you want that option on or not.
Okay.
But yeah, in old Fire Emblem games, when you would lose a unit, you would probably restart the map because you don't want to lose the unit permanently.
Yeah.
In this one, it was you lose a unit, you can rewind time and just change your actions, but it doesn't change the RNG at all. So if you do the same action, you'll get the same result.
Yeah, okay.
So you can't just reverse time constantly in order to change the RNG.
Yeah.
And you do have a limited number of them per battle, so you still have to be careful with them. So you can't, you shouldn't rewind a mistake where a unit didn't die, but they just took a lot of damage. There's no point in rewinding that if you can fight your way out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that. There was another thing that I had thought of, but I then immediately forgot it. Which was weird.
Yeah, no. I think overall, good game, questionable mechanics.
Yeah, it's a good game. I liked my first playthrough. My second playthrough, I have not even finished it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not having a lot of fun with it. Go back a bit more to old Fire Emblem stuff, but still keep some of the benefits of the new ones, A lot of people really like the waifu stuff. I mean, I don't mind it. I find it fun, but it's not huge.
You mean fucking losers really like the waifu stuff? Degenerate, disgusting.
Shut up, Kaz. You like it too.
Yeah, I do.
You like it too. I do. Every time you played one, you waifu someone.
Yeah. It's sad.
I mean,
it's a character flaw.
It's a character flaw. I don't mind it. I kind of like it because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Especially back in Awakening when you could just pair up the worst pairings ever.
Or have the noble knight and the fucking 5-year-old who's actually 200 years old, so it's okay if they have sex.
Yeah. You put them together and it's very strange.
Yeah.
Now, if I interject?
Why was this the point where you wanted to interject?
As soon as it came to she's really 200
questionable
years old.
Pedophilia. Well, Sliver, have an opinion on this.
No, I don't have an opinion on that.
Right,
but doesn't Fire Emblem handle LGBT relationships a lot better than Gone Home did in the first place?
No.
No?
Depends.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The recent ones do have some same-sex relationships that you can engage in. Although Fire Emblem Three Houses is kind of bad about it, because I think there's there's one male on male, and there's like 5 female on female.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Funny how that works.
funny how that works. Huh? So it's like, get fucked if you're gay, I guess.
Yeah.
There's one house that doesn't have a single gay character in it. They just don't like gays in that house.
Well, yeah. That's,
Oh,
Jesus.
But I mean,
what a progressive podcast we've become.
truly.
The merits of LGBTQ equality in their game design. Porkchopper, is there any kind of news you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, actually. So, a report came out.
Sorry, Sliv, you're making some fucking... Do you have anything... Would you like to bring up a game? A bad game?
well, may not be a bad game.
Alright.
I want to say
I mentioned a
it's-
good
I'd
game.
love
that
to
I
hear
It's
it.
a
said
very
I would love to hear
underwhelming
it.
game.
Alright, let's hear it.
All right. So picture this: the year's 2005.
I can't do it.
Yeah, we're done here.
I'm out of it.
I'm completely
We're done.
disenfranchised from this.
Alright.
All right.
2005. A little-known indie developer named Team Eco releases Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay. Whoa, hold on.
No. Let him finish his point, Porkchopper.
4 years later, they announced
You can put down the pitchforks.
Okay.
The Last Guardian. And then 2 years later,
You
they
motherfucker
announced
should've-
The Last Guardian. Then 2 years later, they announced, yeah, we're still doing The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
Then 2 more years pass. It's like, okay, it's coming out next year. Then it comes out.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Okay, you guys have some serious issues with preambles. That was fucking long.
My preamble was amazing. Generations will be going back to my preamble.
I was so hyped for it, I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
The mechanics just didn't work. The controls felt too loose. The bloom effect was too high.
Unnamed guest, it's called fucking parallelism, okay? We made incredibly long preambles that led to fucking nothing.
And the Griffin never listened.
Yeah.
Like, you do your best. Okay, get your ass over here. Nope.
You know
I
what's
ain't
funny
listening to you.
about that fucking game? I remember when the PS3 had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
I forget this journalist's name. It was like Dylan something. And he spoke to this website and he hyped up this incredible game that he had seen behind the scenes at Sony with graphics that would blow you away and amazing AI. It's the most important game I've ever fucking seen. And it was like 2 or 3 years before The Last Guardian was announced. And throughout that entire time, everybody kept saying, well, because he said, if you guys guess the game, I'll tell you. And everybody was like, oh, it's got to be Team Eco's game. No, it's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. And then The Last Guardian gets announced, and he's like, yeah, it was this one. This was the game the whole time. And it's like, what the fuck? But by the time the game came out, the graphics, were not revolutionary. The facial animations that he talked about, and the AI of the fucking Griffin and all that were not revolutionary. In fact, by the time it came out, the thing was a fucking moron. Like, it's just one of those issues or one of those instances where this game is super, super hyped up by one person, and it fucking bites them in the ass for not shutting the fuck up. Because that game took forever, and when it finally came out, it was dog shit.
What, he Molyneuxed himself?
Yeah, he basically did. Dude, he didn't even work on the game. Like, what the fuck? He's just a fucking journalist. Well, yeah, it was so bad. I remember that. I couldn't believe it.
I was mad.
Anything else you want to say about that
Oh,
game?
it was bad. Like, just the AI, man. Like, it was hyped to be something so large, and then it was disappointing. I tried legitimately, on the last puzzle I got to get the Griffin to bow down for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's all I needed to do, and I couldn't do it. It's like, no, I'm gonna walk over here. See ya.
Dude, I've seen so many clips where people go to jump and the Griffin just raises his head and fucking throws them off the map and they die. It's like, what the fuck?
I was looking so forward to it after Shadow of the Colossus was that good. But
Yeah.
then I guess you can't expect them to strike lightning 3 times in a row.
Yeah, third time is not the fucking charm there.
No, not
Anyway.
at all.
Speaking of hyping up a game, there is actually a game coming out that I would love to talk about for just a little bit, called World of Horror.
Oh shoot!
Which I
okay,
sent you like pictures of it.
Yeah. Okay.
It is done by just one fucking dude somewhere in Europe who is a dentist who I'm pretty sure just kind of inspired his fucking designs. I'll put them on the screen now, but this dude he created all of this artwork on fucking Microsoft Paint, I believe. As far as I know, that's the truth. It might not be the case, but it looks fucking visceral. I have sent you pictures of this shit.
Yeah, I remember this.
It is some fucking jarring shit.
Well, it's because he's seen true horror.
Yeah,
Bad dental hygiene.
let's be real here. It's partially inspired by Junji Ito. The artwork looks fantastic for the fucking platform he's working on. I've played through it. The way I would describe the gameplay is it's like a randomized, almost D&D campaign. Every time you hit the monster, it's like you roll a d20 and like the monster rolls a d20 and it's like, it's based off different stats. Every run you do, you can find different party members and different equipment. There are different fucked up status effects that can happen to your character. And it all looks like it's made on like a fucking old ass like fucking Macintosh, like DOS. The graphics look super old, and it is. I am fucking ecstatic for this thing. Like, I've played the demo for it so many times, and I recommend it. It's not often that a relatively like a game that's we're excited for that's like not well known comes out, and like for like what kind of like fucking small ass viewership we have, I would love for more people, whoever the fuck you are, to check this out. Alternatively, this could be a giant fucking piece of shit, and I am wasting my time. But just a fun fact, my avatar currently was drawn by the dude that made this game. And there's the possibility that I am in this game also. If I find myself, I'll post it. I'm also expecting for me to not be in the game at all. But it would be kind of funny if I was. Anyway.
So, Kaz.
World of Horror. Sorry, yes.
What you're trying to tell me is, good or bad, the excuse is, what can you expect? He was a fucking dentist.
What the fuck?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm telling you that his demos have been fantastic. I've loved them, and I can't wait for the new fucking game. And it's incredible that a random ass dude who like seems like he just learned how to code and he made his own fucking game, and it's admirable if he pulls it off, and I hope he does, and I hope it blows up, and fuck it. We need more shit like this, more passion projects, and like people that have the talent and the skills and the time and the fucking passion to go through with it. And I hope World of Horror is one of those games. Rant over. Hope World of Horror is good. Comes out February 20th. Yeah. News. Porkchopper. Let's talk about news.
All right. So there was a report that came out, I believe it came out yesterday, that Sony's struggling with the manufacturing cost of the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
So from what I understand at this point, just to make the thing is about $450 American. That does not include transportation costs, retailer cuts, or any of that shit. Now, the problem with that is that would put the American price very likely no lower than $500 American. I don't know if you guys know what the fucking conversion rate is right now, but that's like $653 Canadian.
Now, to be fair, I believe the PS4 is sold at cost. Like, they lose money per PS4. Do they not?
On launch, PS4 was sold at a loss.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was.
No. PS4, when it launched, was the first PlayStation that they were actually making money on. A very small amount. I think it was only like $20 or $30, but they were making money.
Okay. I thought they sold at a loss, but
no, they usually do. But with the PlayStation 5, I don't think they want to do that because every other division in Sony is fucking struggling and they're losing money. Like, their TVs are down, their cameras are down. They need PlayStation to make money, so they're not selling that shit at a loss. So my question is, are you guys ready to pay $650 for that fucking box?
I mean, it mostly depends on if I'm employed at the time.
Okay, that's fair.
First of all,
If I'm fully employed and I'm perfectly comfortable, I can spend $600 on something. That's whatever.
you are talking to the man who is ready to dish out $599 for giant enemy crabs and Ridge Racer. Okay, don't
Fuck.
do not underestimate my love for Sony's cock. No, I don't fucking know. Honestly, I'm in a situation where I'm probably just gonna keep gaming on my PC.
Yeah.
Depending on price, I'm not going any more than $400 dues personally.
Also,
$450 maybe.
it depends on how backwards compatible it is, because there was that patent
Yeah.
that they filed to go all the way back to PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty cool. Now, I have a lot of PS3 games, and I don't play any of them because I'm too lazy to hook in my PS3.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
But if the PS5 is compatible back to PS3, then I'll have that hooked up, and I'll have all those games to play, which I technically can still play right now, but I'm very lazy and weird. And I don't want to hook it up, despite the fact that it is right there.
I mean, console bloat is a thing. There's so many fucking consoles you have to hook up and all these fucking wires. It's nice to have one that can just be fucking 5 of them.
But that's an if. We still haven't done confirmation. We haven't even had an official announcement.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. So we're gonna have backwards compatibility with PS4 for sure.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
Yes.
There's no
without
doubt.
question.
Yep.
PS1 and PS2, I would not be surprised to see. You're not going to see PS3.
That is
And PS3 is
unfortunate.
going to be
Here's
the
the
hard
thing.
one.
That
I know,
cell
PS3 was
processor
super
was
weird.
so fucking complicated to work on that in order to emulate it, you literally have to brute force it. There's no way that you can make a regular, Ryzen 3, which is what it's going to be in the next consoles. Doesn't matter how powerful that thing is, you're not emulating that cell processor. It's just too complex. So I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I guess you can stream that shit through PlayStation Now and you're fucking 720p, and that's probably the only way that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, fuck that.
But anyway, the other issue is if they put that shit at 500, which they probably will, the rumor right now is that the Xbox Series X is also going to launch at 500. And the PlayStation 5, from what we know so far, is 20% less powerful than the Xbox Series X.
Well, again, I would say it's because we haven't had an official announcement, really.
Yeah.
Right.
All this speculation. One thing I will say, though, if they both launch at the same price, I think the PS5 will win, just because last time the PS4 won, and a lot of people have a ton of PS4 games right now, and they'll want to use them in the backwards compatibility.
Mind you.
Whereas Xbox did not win, so even if they're backwards compatible, it doesn't matter as much.
Well, regardless on if it's backwards compatible or not, Microsoft has already announced that they're not going to have any new first-party IPs for a year and a half.
Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not what they said. They are going to have first-party IP. They're not going to have Xbox Series X exclusives, meaning the games are also launching on Xbox One.
They'll just run like shit.
Like, you can look at that as a bad thing because you're not getting games that maybe are designed from the ground up for the Series X. But that's a really pro-consumer move because Xbox understands not everyone has money to switch to these consoles, which are very likely going to be very expensive when they come out. So if you can still play those games, and then through backwards compatibility, download an update to play the game as it was intended on the Series X when you finally get that system.
Right.
That's really pro-consumer. Which Sony obviously isn't going to do. And it could potentially hold back games on the Series X for the first couple of years. But I think the benefit of it outweighs that a little bit. Usually the first couple of years don't see any games that really take advantage of the hardware anyway. Right. Because they're usually using engines at that point that were built from the last gen consoles.
Right, like you're seeing games release multi-generationally for a year or two.
Right, yeah, they're doing cross-gen games like Destiny did that, Watch Dogs did. Okay, both of those games had fucking problems. But that's besides the fucking point.
Watch Dogs appeared on this fucking show.
Now, Microsoft's pro-consumer streak, it mostly comes from the fact that they did lose this last console generation.
Yeah, but at the same time...
Because Sony did that last time.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Because Sony definitely kind of lost in the PS3 and the Xbox 360 era.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, they were way more pro-consumer than Xbox was initially. Xbox doled back on like everything, all their anti-consumer practices. But Sony had already won by just completely trashing them in that aspect. So this is always going to happen. Whoever won is going to be kind of a shitbag in the next.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this works.
What I was going to get to, though, is going into the launch. So even if they're the same price, potentially Microsoft might make a really big move. Something that they've done before. I believe it was with the 360, and they might have done it with the Xbox One at one point, where you could buy the system for like $100 or $200, and then pay monthly and pay off the console, right? Which would get you into next gen cheaper, and then guaranteed if they did that, they'd bundle in Xbox Live Gold Ultimate, which would include Game Pass. You'd get Project xCloud streaming on like your PC. If you could get all of that for, say, like $200 and then pay monthly, that would pull in a lot of people.
That would pull in a lot of people. There is also nothing saying Sony can't do something similar.
True.
If Xbox announces that, if like, hey, this is what we're doing, Sony can then go, that's going to get a lot of people. We'll do it too.
True. The only thing with Sony is they've never done that in the past, and they've never shown interest. They could, but I kind of doubt that they would. And that's the thing. I think Sony's in a really bad position going into next gen. Like, have you guys noticed that with the PS4, from the get-go, they were super confident about the system. They showed it off right away. They showed off, like, shitloads of games.
Second Son, I think.
Right?
Maybe not, but it was around the beginning.
Right?
Yeah.
But with the PlayStation 5, they had first announced it. They first talked about it last May. Almost a year ago. And since then, we haven't seen, other than Gearbox announcing Godfall, we haven't seen a single game for this system. All we've heard about is some hardware features like ray tracing. The confidence that they had with the PS4 is nowhere to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
They really need to go big in an announcement. They're like, boom, here's the PS5. Yeah. It does this. It's great. Here's like 6 games that are coming at launch.
Yeah.
If they do that, I think they're pretty golden. But right now, yeah, you're right. They're not showing anything, and that's worrying.
The thing is,
I mean, that and fucking being a no-show at E3, I think has a bit of a stale taste.
2 years in a row, and they canceled PlayStation.
A lot of people are no-showing E3 though.
True,
that's true.
But when you're launching a console, though, that's still really.
I mean,
important.
they may put something out around that time anyway.
Yeah.
They might not just do an official E3 press conference, and I'm okay with that because I hate those press
state
conferences.
of play thing, like their Nintendo Direct kind of thing.
Yeah, their state of play has been kind of bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I think in general that's a better way of getting your information out because it's just straight. Here's everything. No bullshit. No press conference. I'm doing hand motions.
That's true.
When I fucking ran.
Fuck. What I lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I going to say? It was important.
Was it though?
It was.
Sony PS5.
No shit.
Yes. Oh, really? Was that the fucking topic we were on? Flip?
Okay. What I was going to say was, going back to how they don't seem very confident right now, the issue is while they eventually will have like a big blowout of information on all these games and a full console reveal, with the PlayStation 4 they did it in February, which is probably the right time to do it. Everyone was expecting it this month. But Sony just randomly launched a PlayStation 5 website for PlayStation Europe. And that website makes it very clear that they're not going to show anything from the PlayStation 5 anytime soon.
Yeah, it is a weird... I don't know what they're doing. It is strange.
I feel like they realized that Microsoft kind of backed them into a corner this time. Because Microsoft's on such a good streak with...
Game Pass and fucking...
Yeah, so I think they're waiting for Microsoft to be like, well, this is how much it's going to cost, and these are all the launch games. But I feel like if they wait too long, they're really going to shoot themselves in the foot. So it's just a really awkward situation going into this next gen.
That's what I've been hearing as well, where they're waiting for Microsoft to make their big move, and then it's like, okay, we're going to undercut you. Yeah. Here's the price for PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, it's basically what they did last time.
It's going to be a lot harder for them to back down.
One thing is, Sony doesn't have the money to lose money on every console sold, whereas Microsoft's doing extremely well. If they really want to, they can undercut PlayStation and be like, $450. Yeah, we're going to lose shitloads of money. But because all their money now is coming from services like Game Pass, I don't think they would actually give a shit. And they could get away with it. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, definitely curious. Although, since it's backwards compatible, and I have a PS4, and I've got so many games, I probably won't be switching myself.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I think there's going to be a lot of people who will work like that as well.
Yeah, probably.
All right. This has been the worst game ever. I've been your host, Kaznarious.
And the Porkchopper.
And everybody else.
Everyone. Ooh.
We will see what Sony's move is. Probably fucking nothing by the time we record another episode.
Yeah, probably not.
And we will see you in the next one. All right. Take care, everyone. Go check out World 4. I'm not fucking being paid by him. I swear to God I'm not being paid by him. I'm just very interested in this project. Okay.
Fucking shill.
Later, everyone. Go buy Raid Shadow Legends. Fuck me in the ass.
Shit.
Goodbye.
It didn't record.